My biggest surprise on the response to that, and by the way, every Philly media market picked it up, every Giants in New York media market picked it up, and our show's not typically that kind of show where we're like, let's talk trash, let's start trouble, let's do it. Julian then doubles down on it, but I was like, oh man, I hate putting him in that spot. I go through the comments, and like, most of the comments were like, he's right. He's right. What does Sirianni do? And I was flabbergasted. I'm like, Sirianni just coached his team to the Super Bowl. Can he get some respect here? And if that's what the bulletin board material has to be, then so be it. And what would a Super Bowl win mean for him? It means he's got as many Super Bowl rings as Sean Payton, as many Super Bowl rings as Sean McVay, and as many Super Bowl rings as so many Super Bowl coaches who have that one ring on the finger. And he's done it all before the age of 45. I didn't think that there was a question of Sirianni's skills. And then, you know, the Coach of the Year finalists came out, and like we put out Sirianni as a Coach of the Year, and a lot of people were like, Sirianni doesn't do squat. Jonathan Gannon's defense is what it was, and Shane Steichen calls the plays. What does Sirianni do? I had no idea going into yesterday's show that there was this feeling amongst players, fans, and maybe some media that Nick Sirianni is more or less a CEO type who's not in the... Nick Sirianni sets the culture. He sets what this team is all about. And Nick Sirianni has his team in the Super Bowl. Mean mugging, it's part of the whole thing. That's the way their attitude is. It's okay. I was shocked at the response of people who were like, Sirianni does squat. No, I think Sirianni and Ted Rath there with the sleeveless, like, this is a vibe, and this is what the coach can do in addition to the X's and O's, in addition to the adjustments in game. I think people are trying to find a way to knock down the Eagles right now. They're like, their strength of schedule stinks. They've beaten Daniel Jones and Josh Johnson in playoff games. What are we doing? Their coach stinks. I have a hard time picking any holes with the Eagles, and I think Sirianni's done an exceptional job. 2 years in the league, playoffs 1 year, Super Bowl the next, and if he wins a ring, I think he silences, I didn't even know there were doubters, but silences the doubters, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not here for, I love what Julian Love said, and I love it because when you're in it and this is another team in your division and the head coach is mean mugging while you're on the opposite sideline, he should feel some type of saltiness and throw some things at the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm not here for this. I don't feel like there's any truth behind it. It takes a coach to go out there and do his thing and get his team to the playoffs. The Eagles aren't a team where it was like in the summer we were going into the season and we were like, oh, yeah, the Eagles are going to be in the Super Bowl. They're going to be the best team in the NFL throughout the entire season. Oh, yeah, his quarterback, oh, yeah, it's Jalen Hurts. These are top of the... I'm like, no. The Philadelphia Eagles were a team that got blown out in the wild card division last year, 31-15 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now they come back this year, and they're the class of the NFL throughout the entire season. Jalen Hurts goes down, they lose 2 games. He comes back, they finish, and then the way they run through the playoffs. Whether he's calling plays or not, he's the head coach of a football team. I'm not going to sit there and say, all right, Sirianni, he's not the OC, he's not the DC. So now all of a sudden, if you're a head coach and you don't call plays on one side of the ball, then you're not worthy of the respect that the other head coaches get when they win a Super Bowl ring. Like, no, Sirianni has done his thing. Year 2, he comes into Philadelphia. They go to the playoffs. Now, year 2, they're in the Super Bowl, beating the 49ers, and I know they lost Brock Purdy, but doing his thing to get there. I give him the credit for what he's done in this organization, the energy. Hearing Brandon Graham talk about his head coach in that press conference after and what he brings to the table and how much the players enjoy playing for him, that's the role of a head coach. You are a leader of men and women within your organization, and you need to get them all moving in the same direction at the same time. And when you do that and it all aligns, you have a Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, Jason, the head coach, his job is to motivate and prepare and make sure that you're getting the best out of your players on game day. And so for Nick Sirianni, look, he's a little bit different, right? You wouldn't see Tom Coughlin mean mugging. I mean, Bill Belichick mean mugs every day at the press conference, but there's a different kind. I think when you look at this, like Nick is not scared to be himself and show a little personality. I think that's okay, and Eagles players and fans all love that. You're going to ask a New York Giant about a Philadelphia head coach and a team, to your point, that just kicked him out of the playoff club. Yeah, of course, he's going to have a different opinion on it. Here's the catch, though, with Nick Sirianni. Like, this Super Bowl, like, this is the moment right here, all right? I'm going to flash back to Doug Peterson, his second year with the Eagles. They go to the Super Bowl, right? Nick Foles steps in. You know, you got an injured quarterback who was in the running for an MVP. Sounds a lot very similar to Jalen Hurts right now. And you go into the Super Bowl, and on that first offensive possession, they go for it on 4th and 2. Philly special, right? If that play doesn't work out, if that play doesn't end up being a touchdown, everybody's coming at you. It's the same thing with Nick Sirianni. Look, he went for it on 4th and 6 against in this last game against the 49ers. And Devontae Smith catches or doesn't catch the ball, but they convert that 4th down. And so now nobody questions it. But if you make a call as a coach in a 4th down like that, which Nick Sirianni has been aggressive, just like Doug Peterson was, hey, if it works out, everything's great and everything's gravy. For Nick, there's going to be a couple moments in this game where he's going to have to make a decision early on. Do I go for it? Do I go gas pedal? I got Mahomes on the other side. That's where I think his defining moment's going to be with this Super Bowl. If he finds a way to win it, man, as a young coach, he's in a whole other class of coaches with rings.
Yeah, I think we all think the same thing at this table. As it pertains to Julian Love, I would have been concerned for somebody sitting at this table, a free agent, if you will, who told us minutes earlier from that comment that he wants to stay in New York. He wants to remain a Giant. For him to then rain down love on the behavior of the Philadelphia Eagles head coach would have been concerning for me. That's a non-committal individual that, frankly, if I were the Giants, I'd be like, well, that's strange. He says he wants to be here, but you have to just openly hate on the Eagles. It's cool. We love that he said it. Please don't move the goalposts on your expectation for what it means to have a successful head coach. It's not fair for any. The job looks different for every organization, for every fan base, for every owner. The owner gets to decide what kind of head coach they pick. And if you don't like it or if they're losing, then that's on the people that pick the head coach, not on how the head coach decides how to run his operation. And in fact, for anyone who wants to say that Nick Sirianni doesn't have his handprints all over this team, for Julian Love, let's say, you could go down. No, I couldn't, because I would have hired Jonathan Gannon. I would not have hired Shane Steichen. I wouldn't have stuck with Jalen Hurts. Maybe the decisions Nick Sirianni has made all throughout lands them in Super Bowl 57. Not because he just gets to stand there and look like a personality-driven head coach that doesn't make... No, he makes decisions. Just because you don't like the fact, Giants fans, that it's not between kickoff and when the regulation is done, that's your own problem and your own definition for a head coach. Don't rain down on Nick Sirianni's parade just because of what he's doing down in Philadelphia.
I was surprised by the response because, a lot of thing was he doesn't call plays and he doesn't call the defense. The nuances of the way, but you're to your point. He hires the guys who does it all, and he's the one speaking to the team. Right. I'm getting worked up over nothing. He's the manager. It's it.
Kyle, what do you think? Lay it on us.
All right, so I love the commentary. I love the takes. I think a Super Bowl win would mean a lot to him, maybe some of the fans, but not to a lot else. Not in what we do, maybe not even in Philadelphia. Bear in mind, Doug Peterson gets a statue, wins the Super Bowl. He's not still there. They still had a falling out. Doug Peterson was gone. We don't know the future, even if Sirianni does win it. And I love this topic because there's a very specific breed of coach that falls into this category of you're a passenger. And I think in basketball, and I remember Eric Spoelstra when he's coaching the Heat, and it's Bron, and it's Wade, and it's Bosch, and it's like, Spoelstra, who are you? Just get out of the way and let the great talent coach. I think Sirianni's getting some of that, and I think he's going to hear some of that even if they do win it. And I think it's fascinating as it pertains to the Eagles going into this game. Remember, last time they won, and they go to the parade, and Jason Kelce's up there in the mummer's costume, of all the things that he wants to say, he comes locked and loaded with a screaming, guttural take about, of all things, Mike Lombardi and how he doubted Doug Peterson's hire as a head coach and how that motivated he and the team. I think this Julian Love thing is massive. I would not be surprised if Jason Kelce is on the Rocky steps screaming Julian Love's name in about 9 days. They will run with this, that we love this coach, and this coach is Philadelphia, and this is us. You think he's a passenger. I think he's a Super Bowl champion. I think it's going to be a big thing for Philly, but in our world, this sports media echo chamber, one Super Bowl for Nick Sirianni, who took over the Howie Roseman Super Bowl team, will not be looked at as one of the next great coaches, fair or not. I see how the media is already taking the storyline. He's a passenger in the Howie Roseman Express, and until he starts stacking him, he will not be looked at any differently as a one-and-doner who showed up and got one.
That was
all right, Kyle.
Though honestly, though, I love that there's a storyline now, and Kyle nailed it, and that felt like it was Kyle from his Jim Rome days, but it's right. They fired Doug Peterson 2 years after the fact. That is not just a hot take. That is Philly. It is a burner. Kyle, spot on, man.
It's awesome.